Hello, everyone. Welcome to SmashBoxxTV podcast episode 265. I'm your host, John Van Derzen. It is it's a night. That's a pretty easy way to put it. We got no Terry tonight. He's over in Norway somewhere, traveling with Avery Jenkins. I got to talk to him, I think Sunday night a little bit, kind of catch up on some GMC stuff and get their take. Terry had a nice, unique take, actually being on the other side of the camera for a little while. And so I came down here tonight, and I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to do. I knew we were going to talk about the GMC and kind of get maybe a little preview of the USWDGC. But then I looked on my little handy-dandy Facebook, and I saw a good friend of the show and someone I've wanted to catch up with for a while. Mr. Eric Oakley was online, and I just reached out to him and said, hey, do you want to come on? Eric's been pretty open lately about some of his recent finishes, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about their plans, how he's going to get prepped for USDGC, how everything with Whale Pants is going. So I'm pretty excited about that, and we've got him on the line, so I'm going to actually bring him in here real soon. So without any further ado, we are bringing in Mr. Eric Oakley. Eric, how are you doing tonight?
I'm awesome, man. Just hanging out in Vermont just for an extra couple days. Thanks to Jeff Spring. He's hooked us up incredibly, as he does for most of the people who come out to the Green Mountain Championships. He makes the event like the best. So Tina and I decided to kind of catch up a few extra days and relax and kind of get ready for the weeks to come, which is going to be a lot of chilling for us.
Yeah, I mean, that's not the worst place if you have to kind of hang out, is the beautiful mountains of Vermont. I've seen some pictures from a couple of our pros. Are you guys the only ones there, or are there a few other people there with you?
Peter McBride and Madison Walker, I think, are still here. I think we're all kind of like shifting out tomorrow. A bunch of people shifted out just today. So I think that'll be what we might be the last of it. And we have a really good plans to continue to explore kind of New England a little bit, go to Maine, Rhode Island, and before we start making our way down to Winthrop. So it's going to be really, really fun.
So Tina is not going to be involved in the USWDGC at all? Because I know that's this upcoming weekend.
Yeah, Tina has a lot on her plate. Whale sex is actually incredibly booming. Her body is also not cooperating with her very much. Her shoulder has been flaring up, her back's been flaring up, and she went to a chiropractor today, and they told her don't play any disc golf, like even play casually with me. So, but we had already made the decision to not go to U.S. Women's and really take these weeks to just kind of relax anyways. So it kind of works out in the way that she probably wouldn't be fit to play, and it's best for her to take the time and get her body right, and also it helps her kind of keep crushing out some work and benefiting the brand of Whale Sex.
I understand Tina's pain. Literally this morning, I was walking down the stairs into my basement, go check on some laundry, and like we've got these nice carpeted stairs, and my foot, like the inside of my foot, caught the edge, and boom, 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 all the way down the stairs, like 4 stairs. My wife comes running. Oh my God! I'm laying on the ground, completely fine. Little scuffed up, rug burn on the back, and just laughing like, like
this is not fun.
Yeah, like I'm too old for this. Like when you're just literally falling down the stairs for no reason, you know that it's time. It's time to go do something better with your day than just the giant rug burn I now have on my back. But
totally.
So Whale Sax is doing extremely well. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, it's been very good. I think just the fact that we're able to relax and do what we're doing is just going to be really, really good for us.
So so this past weekend you played the GMC. We can actually talk a little bit about the GMC. We don't have Dana on tonight. We don't have Terry. It's just going to be me and Eric for a little while. The GMC, how do you feel that event went for you? It's one of the few events that you guys get to play 2 different courses, and they're 2 significantly different courses.
Mm-hmm. Well, first round, I put up a decent number, and honestly, I just kind of bled the strokes away the next 3 rounds. So I didn't have my best performance. I finished outside the cash line, which I think the cash line, I finished averaged 1,007, I think is what it came out to be, and the cash line was still 3 strokes higher than that. So it's obviously known that the level of play has increased this year in 2019. Whether it doesn't matter, usually 1,000 rating was always cashing at big events, but now that line is pushing farther and farther up the line. And the 2 courses we play are honestly 2 of my favorites, like in the world. I think they offer incredible diversity. I think it's one of the best open courses in Fox Run and one of the best wooded courses in Brewster Ridge. They're challenging in the right ways. When you throw a good shot, you're rarely punished for it, and it forces you to make really, really good decisions on both courses. And you can play them for par, and par is actually really, really good. I think I shot even par at Fox Run, and it was a 10-20 rated round, the first round. It was a little breezy, but there are not many courses where even par is that high up in the rating. Outside of that, we had very few lead changes after round 1 because Paul kind of just decided to establish his dominance as he has. But it was good to see Team DD member Chris Clemens climb into a podium finish. It was really, really awesome to see he's been riding a wave of confidence ever since Vacation Land and Worlds. I know he's been really feeling the game, and he wants to keep pushing to see where that all can take him. And then outside of that, you had a bunch of normal faces playing well. I know that a little bit of drama with Ricky Wysocki having the potential, we're not 100% sure, potential Lyme disease flare-up, which is a pretty scary thing. And again, it just brings more thought to the question of make sure you get yourself checked and be hyper aware of these types of situations. So there was a lot going on. But then, going into the women's side, you watch Sarah Hokum just kind of crush.
She carved up that course. She truly did.
Impressive.
And it was fun to watch. Thankfully, we got to see almost all of her rounds on Smashbox, and watching her dissect these courses was fun. I mean, she hit most of her lines, and when she didn't, she played within herself and got up and down, usually for a par, which is clearly what you need to do on these courses in the FPO field. Just if you can't get there for birdie, I know it sounds Madden-esque, but just make sure you get your par. Don't put yourself in a bad position. And she did phenomenal. Like it was fun watching her play.
Yeah, and I think it was also really cool to see 2 not unfamiliar faces, but definitely have had their splashes in the podiums in the past, but have been really showing strong play. And Kristen Tatar and Rebecca Cox also finding podium finishes, which is if you see Sarah on top, usually you see Paige and Kat right behind in sub capacity, but they had off weekends, which is let's give them a break. They've been playing some incredible golf all year long. It's cool to see a battle similar to that with Paige and Kat. Kat dominating early on, and Paige really just hitting the gas and pushing it to another level. But then Sarah deserves a good win because she's been hanging around all season, and I think it's also a big thing for her sponsor and MVP that that's kind of a really cool thing to see them get a win, because they've they're putting a lot into her, and it's it's helping her stay on the road and be successful, because Sarah deserves it. I worked with her in the off season with Disc Golf Strong with Seth Muncie, and it's really cool to see her kind of get these wins and get these things under her belt. I know she's working on her back end. She's doing so much. Like it's awesome. Just we can talk about how awesome she is, but I think she knows.
Yeah, she knows. She's definitely one of the grinders out on the course. And this weekend particularly was, I can't imagine the mental fortitude that she had to have. For those of you at home that don't know, she played really well first round. Second round, I'm sitting right in this exact position. Our cameramen are getting ready. It's like, okay, are we on time? Are we on time? Sometimes tee time's running late. And suddenly somebody says, yeah, there's been a medical incident on hole 1. And And I'm like, well, that's weird. And they're like, someone's caddy had an issue. And I'm like, oh, that's not good. And then we later find out that it was Sarah's boyfriend and caddy, Robin, who apparently was having some shoulder issues. So he's been on some medication, ended up having a bad reaction to the medication and had a seizure and fainted. I believe he fell and hit a sign and some rocks maybe, and fractured some vertebrae in his back, and more or less broke his back, for better or worse. And thankfully, he's going to be okay. I guess he's laid up for a few weeks, and it'll be, he's on the IR, so to speak, for 8 to 12. Totally. And she went on. She went on to play, and the ambulance came. They stabilized him. They got him in there. Everything appeared to be okay, but Sarah didn't necessarily know that going into the second round. And after the round, she rushed over to the hospital to be with Robin, where he ended up hanging out, I believe, in the van for the rest of the weekend. But to me, like, I was fully ready to accept Sarah just withdrawing and being like, no, I'm going to be with Robin. And she was able to compartmentalize and fight through a difficult situation to extend her lead. It was, to me, one of the bigger stories that I don't necessarily know if it's going to get a lot of play out there.
I doubt it will, but knowing Robin and Sarah, Robin probably was not going to let her drop from that tournament. So he's a strong human being, and we know that Sarah is also that same way. They're very strong people, and from what I understand and what I've heard through is, it was not, the card didn't handle it very well. They were all kind of riding that emotional roller coaster. I know Sarah was as well, which is completely justifiable, but it was a good spark of life for Sarah to kind of go out, play for Robin, and put up a great performance, because that's having that little extra motivation that you're playing for somebody who can't be there, who is there for you all the time, helping you out, helping you just be who you are on the course, and have to think very little in that. And in those moments, she was having to think for a lot, because she was thinking about somebody she cares about deeply. But I think you hit it on the nose, that this is a story that not a lot of people totally know, and it adds to how impressive it was, her play. And Sarah's not one to be aggressive, and she played those courses and dissected them, and she came out on top in such a tremendous fashion. It was really cool.
Yeah, it was a pleasure to watch. Sarah ended up obviously winning the event over Kristen Tatar. I'm going to just pull up all the results here. Sarah ended up shooting a total of 1 over. She won by 5 strokes. It was, I believe that she went into the final round with a 6-stroke lead. Tatar actually ended up getting it down to a 2-stroke lead, because Sarah had a rough stretch through 5, 6, and 7 out there on Fox, which understandable. Those are difficult holes. Oh, they're all difficult holes, but it's hard to compartmentalize. Like, no, these are the tough ones. But 6 isn't too bad. Sarah just got caught up on the right, and 5 and 7 are actually 7 is the 1,000-footer. Those are the tougher ones. But Tatar played those spectacularly. Got it to within 2 strokes. Gave us a little bit of a battle before Sarah ended up, kind of running, I don't want to say running away with it, but increasing her lead on the back 9 to finalize that. And it couldn't have been such a better thing to watch. We saw Rebecca Cox take 3rd place at +8, and then Paige Pierce made a fighting effort to get back by shooting an even on that final round to get to 4th place, which is a position. She was in 4th, Kat was in 6th. It was interesting to watch the FPO field and not see them. On a...
Not even on coverage.
It was almost...
lead card coverage, you weren't... I don't think either one of them made coverage at all.
No, they didn't. People were asking, oh, wait, where's Paige? Why isn't she here? And it's like, she is. You have to see... For once, you say you have to scroll down and to find her. And as we said, Paige has had her issues with this course in the past. I mean, she's, as we know, Paige Bjerkes ended up winning Worlds at this course last year, and so
it's a strange thing that I don't know if this has ever been talked about. Is Nate Doss won the year before Worlds and then doesn't play Worlds the next year, and I was like, man, Nate has we were going into it. Nate has a real opportunity to win that Worlds that Greg won. Obviously, they had some things happen in the year, and they opened the brewery, and they their minds shifted in a different direction. But I was surprised to see a returning champion not show up. And then Paige Bierke is doing the same thing. She's getting married, so she has those other distractions. Decides not to play the GMC after she played it so well. I was kind of shocked, but you got to respect anybody's decision to do adult things, if you will, and if we're gonna go that route, because most of us are thinking disc golf, and they're thinking real life, marriage, work, brewery, that type of stuff. Make these amazing things happen, and it's you can't take anything away from them. I'm just surprised to see multiple champions not show up for the next year. It's pretty nuts.
Yeah, it really is. And right now, Paige Bierke is really focusing on her personal life. She's got her wedding coming up, something you guys just had your first anniversary. Is that correct?
Yeah, we did.
So
it was amazing.
Over on Nantucket Island. And so you, of all people, understand some of the stresses and pressures that she's probably going through right now, as her wedding is in less than a month away, or just over a month. It's right around.
Just after I think it's the weekend after the Pro Tour Finals in Charlotte. It's going to be really nice.
Yeah.
But the other part is I have an amazing wife who kept the stress off me. So
yes.
Thank you, Tina. Shout out.
So Paige Bierke doesn't show up, and Paige Pierce just can't seem to figure those courses out yet. I'm sure I won't be surprised if next year she comes out with a different game plan and takes this one down. I think it's just a matter of figuring them out for her particular gameplay. And then on the MPOs, go ahead.
No, the crazy part about these courses, though, is I played them better when I was lower rated, especially Fox Run. Maybe not. I played Brewster worse. As I got better in the woods and got better as a player, Brewster became easier. But when I was worse, Fox Run was easier because my limitations were capped. So I had to lay up. I had to do certain things, and I could just throw it in bounds, and that be the case. But as I've gotten better and my shot specialty has gotten even better, shots, like I have an array of shots I can throw rather than, okay, cool, just throw a hyzer in bounds. It's like, well, you could throw this hyzer flip, you could throw this sidearm, you could throw this turnover, you can do all these things. And I feel like having all those options makes Fox Run and courses like Fox Run, Lake Eureka, Winthrop Gold, makes those courses really, really difficult. So it can be easy to play if you have the right game plan. And I think, what we've seen the past two times we've been here is Paige Pierce. The year before that, Paige won it after a sick comeback on Brewster Ridge. Yep. And she plays, you put her in the woods, she can compete with anybody. But I think she'll dive in and, make the right things. And there's a lot going on in the outside of the sport right now. There's, we're getting towards that tail end of the season. So, there's, always talks of contracts, things like tons of things that are going into play that are being thrown around, potential futures for everybody involved in the sport. You just are, there's a lot of weight that is added to all of us as players to kind of keep performing our best so that, if we have the opportunity, we get the best contract we can.
All right. Spill the beans. What kind of inside sauce you got?
Honestly, I don't know that much. There's just been a lot of discussions of, trying to find what is best for each individual person, within the companies we're with, most importantly, and things like that, about finding the best ways to make those things happen so we can keep doing this. I think that's been the biggest talk about, is how we continue to be able to do this with less stress, with less thought, and more focus in on the sport of disc golf. So I think there's a bunch of people who are going to be probably moving around as we see every single off season, but no concrete or dirty details or anything. It's all just kind of people, just open to ideas and open to many different things. I've had a lot of talks with our new team manager, Eric McCabe, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the things that we can figure out to make amazing things happen.
Yeah, that's a good point. On your specific sponsor, this past week, there were some announcements where the team manager position, Eric is taking that, and I believe he's splitting some duties, maybe with Denise and
Taku. Yeah, it's gonna be great.
And then Robert McCall has moved over to a marketing side. There's been some speculation, and I don't know anything, but I always kind of thought, I was like, all right, that makes sense, having Eric, who knows the position of the touring pro, do that, and Robert, who I know really enjoys, from talking with him, doing things like promoting the sport and live commentary and post-production commentary. he's very good at it. Not that he wasn't a good team manager, but I think if he could fit into another role that he enjoys, why not give it a shot? So
absolutely, and he's in the right company to be able to make that adjustment. And the way we looked at it as our touring team goes, and team members I hope think the same way, is that Eric has been with the company for a very long time, so he has a lot of understanding, and he sees he's been in my shoes. At some point he's been grinding out there on the road and traveling, and having to have these ups and downs and stuff like that. It's all there. So I think he's a perfect person to have going up to bat for us.
Speaking of ups and downs, you've been pretty open in the last couple weeks about having some struggles out on the course. You said that you were going to try to focus on, obviously, the next couple weeks, taking a little bit of a break, getting ready for USCGC, and the three big events coming up, which is USCGC, the Hall of Fame, which is the NT finale, and then the Pro Tour finale over in Charlotte now. What do you equate your struggles to right now? Is it just focus? Is it like I don't want to say a hitch, but is it something you need to work out on the course, or do you think it's more between the ears?
I think it's almost a lot of it is between the ears, because I'm throwing the disc quite well. I feel like I've been able to continue that part of it. But handling adversity has been incredibly difficult ever since Worlds. I feel like I put a lot of energy into Worlds, because I haven't really played well at a World Championship other than my very first one in Emporia when I was a 960 rated player, and I happened to get last cash, and that was like amazing as a feat. But since then, Worlds has come out, and I've been putting a lot of energy into it. I've had expectations, and I've always fallen short. And so, to come out and get a top 10 finish at Worlds was incredible for me, and a huge stepping stone as any player goes, to be, finish at one of our most prolific events in the top 10 of hundreds of competitors. It's a pretty big feeling. And then we drove 14 plus hours, especially with the RV. I was telling Tina wasn't with me. She actually went home with her family. So it was solo driving the car and the RV that we have attached to the car. The car is attached to the RV.
I hope it's not the other way around. That makes gas mileage really rough.
So then I drove all the way out to Delaware, got practice in, and honestly, I just didn't have any mental energy left. I think I was completely fried, and that led to me being incredibly frustrated. That led to me being, just unable to, again, face that adversity. Whenever I had a bad kick or whenever I threw a good shot that got unlucky, like, it was impossible for me to deal with. And that's such a bummer, because of, I think that,
especially at Delaware, where there's a ton of kicks there. That's all, if you can pure the line, great, but very few people are doing that. Everybody's getting a kick of some sort.
You have to be able to kind of roll with the punches. And had maybe we had a week off after that before Delaware, which I think would have helped Delaware be a more prolific event. And I know that they feel that way. And I actually had a conversation with Mike Downs, the PDGA, about scheduling. That's something I believe, we need to avoid weekends and weeks at a time like this, where we have back to back to back to back big events happening often. Because if you look at baseball pitchers, Seth Muncie talks a lot about baseball pitchers, and that's a good thing that we can equate ourselves to, because we are ripping the disc pretty hard when we throw a tee shot, which is very similar to throwing a fastball or something like that. Pitchers get breaks. They get multiple days off of rest before they have to throw again. And their throw counts are counted. They're watching these things, but right now what it seems like is that we're okay. You'll be fine. You have to drive 15 hours, whatever amount of time, and play another big event. You'll be fine. You'll figure it out. But I don't think that that's a future where our sport should be going. It should be more thought into our own health, because it can't be good for our bodies. And obviously it was not good for my mental side of things, which is also important. And I've kind of just been feeling a little bit of hangover ever since then. So hopefully the PDGA, wakes up and figures something out to make that not be a thing in the future, that where our schedule makes sense. The pros are being thought about as, yeah, there's ample time for them to get to this event and relax and recover, because most of us want to do this for a long time.
Mhm.
And if we are beaten down from it, then we can't do it for a long time. We're going to be out of the sport in 2 or 3 years, because it's just physically and mentally, we just cannot continue to handle it. And that's not a good thing. So hopefully the PDGA is wise enough to create a schedule that makes the most sense for us as touring players, that keeps us from ending a tournament on a Sunday, having to drive 12 plus hours, and then start the tournament on Thursday or Friday that following week. That shouldn't make sense, especially if it's big events. Now, if you're talking about, we went from Worlds and the next weekend was an A tier, Delaware will call this an A tier instead, and that's what I decided to do, that's completely my own decision. But you're talking about a national tour. You're talking about, for most top players, those are just events you don't miss. Avery brought this up about European Open. He's like, that's just an event you don't miss if you're a top player. And, you know, I kind of agree, but I feel like the pro tours, the national tours, the majors are stuff you just can't really miss. You know,
I think it's going to require some cooperation, we'll say, between the Pro Tour under new management now with Jeff Spring and Todd Rainwater, and the PDGA to make sure, because I'm right there with you. I truly believe that the weekend before, which I guess it's hard to say the weekend before, because the weekend before Worlds or a major in general, for Worlds is different because they do the doubles like that, and then it's during the week. And the weekend after, there should not be a big, we'll say, event.
Yeah, well, like Worlds had
one of the missed
Madisonville
ones.
Open. Worlds had Madisonville Open the weekend before. So a couple of players went to go try and qualify for USDGC and then came, but that was their decision.
Yep.
It wasn't like the touring field had to be at that event. So it's got to be something that's considered, because for like the medical committee, I know I talked with Seth Muncy about this, he was like, I completely agree with you. This is something that we should definitely be looking into, to make sure that the pros' physical, you know, ability is taken into account when it comes to the scheduling. And back to the point of that, that was a big reason why I wasn't able to handle it. And I started creating some bad habits mentally and was very frustrated, like people get sometimes. And that carried over into a little bit into Maple Hill, even though I played well there. But I had my caddy Charlie Selewski there to kind of keep me going strong. And you know, I had a lot of people talking, and Maple Hill's a place that can rejuvenate anybody. So
yeah, that's a fun place. I can understand being frustrated on the course. I truly can. I've walked. I've never played it. I've walked the course a few times. But the environment is tough. It's tough to come off that course, regardless of how you shot, and be upset. I mean, you get to 18, you turn in your scorecard, sure, you're disappointed, but then you come out, and it's like all your friends are there, and everybody's having fun, and there's so many different things going on, and there's the sap house, and everybody just...
The 8 holes.
Yeah, the 8 holes.
Crowd, like, it was... The amount of positivity was flowing there. And then... Nantucket didn't go very well for me. It just was another kind of Delaware type of tournament where bad kicks, unable to handle it. And then I had a couple of unlucky things happen, and it was just very difficult to deal with. And I think that bled into a little bit of the Green Mountain Championships, even though, again, this is one of my favorite places. But when the trend is happening, it's continuing in a way, I just really was, all I kept talking about this weekend was like, you know what, I got 2 more rounds and then I'm on vacation. I got 2 more rounds. I got 1 more round and I'm on vacation. I got 6 holes and I'm on vacation. And I don't want to be thinking that way when I'm playing a tournament, but it's just exactly what I feel like I've been needing. So, you know, it's, you know, there's, and we'll go back to the PDGA scheduling thing. Maybe if things were scheduled better, I wouldn't be thinking this way. My mind would be right, and I would be able to perform my best at these events. And that would be the goal. That would be
hopefully
exactly what we want. We would all be able to, and I think that's something that should be in the PDGA's mind, because don't you want your players to be performing their best at these events to help Jomez, Central Coast, Smashbox, you name it, have the best players playing and the best shots? They're able to capture all these amazing things happening. That helps grow it, media wise, but then people are watching us actually perform at our highest, rather than seeing, maybe tired golfers. So
yeah, and again, like I say, we hopefully will see that or the start of it next year for some of this stuff, so we can kind of get a general idea. So you talked, obviously, you're talking about your upcoming vacation. I guess I have a couple questions lined up. So the first is, what are you going to do to, in your mind, get things right? Like what's the process you take now that you've seen what's wrong, or you feel you know what's wrong? How do you make it right?
honestly, find the kind of hunger to be out on the course. And I even said it to Tina today, where I was like, man, now that I don't have to play disc golf, I kind of want to play disc golf. And so that's like that kind of like fun feeling. I just want to go out to just be at a course throwing a disc. And so there's not any pressure behind it. There's nothing around that. And I think that is what's going to do it. And I think working with Seth Muncie and doing more workouts while we're there, because it'll be these weeks where we'll be able to go to a Planet Fitness and do some workouts. I did a workout while watching Moana earlier. Trust me, there's a TV channel here in Vermont that's called Freeform that they've been doing is playing Disney movies. So we've just been having an absolute blast. Mulan's on right now, so if you see me looking up, I'm sorry. Doing some disc golf strong workouts, because that was a recipe of what helped me this off season kind of come into the season ramped up and ready to go and playing my best out the gate. And I think that if I stick to a good workout regimen, put the right food in my body and everything, that those things will be right. So we can provide ourselves with the fuel that we need to kind of just be ready to handle whatever situation. So having that want to play, taking care of my body so it's ready for these 3 weeks, even though I know they're going to be a tough 3 weeks, and kind of just getting out after it. And then also just being able to get some much needed time with Tina and be able to live our life the way we want. And rather than having the structured regiment of, I'm going to go play disc golf, I'm going to go practice. And, sometimes she joins, sometimes she doesn't. She's working on whale sacks, but we can really kind of say, hey, let's go find a place to get some lobster in Maine. Let's go do this amazing thing in Richmond, Virginia. It doesn't necessarily matter what we do. It's just going to be us living our life and living the lives that we've chosen to live and being able to be on the road. So I think that all those things are going to be able to get me into a place where disc golf is going to feel really good again. And we're going to probably get down to Rock Hill a week before the event starts, is I think the goal. And that was kind of what I did before Worlds. I got to Peoria kind of pretty far in advance and was able to get some good practice in. I played some solo rounds and just bumped out to music and those types of things. So I feel like getting out to Winthrop and just kind of being on the course will help get me ready for what that means. And now I can't really do the same for WR Jackson or Hornets Nest, but I can start. What I like to do is just watch a bunch of videos and kind of put myself in those situations. So I'll probably do a little bit of research on that, but the main focus being on the major of USDGC.
So we talked about the scheduling and the Pro Tour, with Jeff Spring being the new Pro Tour director. Do you have any thoughts or input as to what you would like to see from the Pro Tour? Are there any changes that you would, other than scheduling, are there any changes that you would like to see the Pro Tour enact, or suggestions or thoughts that you've had?
Honestly, the conversations I've had with Jeff, and Todd, I think they're taking the Disc Golf Pro Tour in a really positive direction. Steve kind of set the whole thing in motion, and we needed this to reignite the engine to keep it running. I think that the biggest thing that they're working on is making sure that it flows for us. So back to scheduling, and they're going to work hard on that. And I think overheard some talks of kind of some more of those type of satellite events that have the potential to be future Pro Tours and or test events and stuff like that will be on off weekends that are going to be great for us as players to at least have the option to go and play. We don't have to play week in, week out but the opportunity is there for us to continue that cash flow, if you will. If you're playing well, you can play 10 weeks in a row if you're shredding it, and you play, and 3 or 4 of those weeks are big events, and then you played all these other smaller satellite events, and you cleaned house, and now your season is set, and you don't have to really worry about playing that as much. So those opportunities I think will be really good, and I think the Pro Tour is presenting that. I for one, and this is going to be a kind of an big statement, is that I think the Disc Golf Pro Tour should take over both tours. I think that it should be one kind of super tour. I know there was an article that was done on it last year, towards the end of the off season. Yeah, it was right in that time. Somebody wrote an article. Don't quote me on it, but the idea of a super tour where, we'll call it 15 to 16 events that are your must-hit tour events, and then 4 majors, 1 in Europe, 3 in the United States, being that we have Worlds, USCGC, and we add a Players Championship. And we have these types of events, and everything kind of comes together to be this really unified thing, because then we're not having, oh, it's national tour standards. Oh, this one's pro tour standards. Oh, this one's A-tier standards. Oh, this is major standards. Like, everything kind of becomes blanketed, and it's all the same. We as players can expect the same thing from all these events that we go to. And I think that makes it better for us. And now if those tours were to be together, the other part about it is that the schedule is going to make sense.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to be sitting here thinking that things are bad, because, all right, cool, you figure out where the majors are going to be, you make sure that those make sense, and then the tour flows make sense, easy drives for us as players. Oh, cool, we have to go from GBO to California. Don't do that in a week. Give us 2.5, 3 weeks to get out there nice and smooth, and put an event in Colorado and Utah, in Nevada, or wherever you want to put it, and allow us to kind of, if we want to, play our way out to the coast. And the same concept about getting from Oregon and stuff like that back out to the Midwest. Those types of things I think should be apparent. And I think with one tour, that's one massive thing working together. And I think that another part about it is that if the Disc Golf Pro Tour were to take over and do those kinds of things, whomever it would be, would be able to really focus in on what the pros need. And that alleviates what the PDGA has to be thinking about. They can focus on driving and getting more people to sign up, and they don't have to worry about running a national tour and what that looks like. It kind of gives them a lot more freedom to focus on the things that they're good at, where we can put people in place to focus on the things that they're good at to take care of the pros.
It's funny because I'm a couple of things. One, I chuckled because, and I think EMAC, who's on the board right now, so be on your best behavior. Your team manager is watching. You said the term super tour, and I chuckled because I'm like, we left the super tours to go to the national tour because all the A tiers used to be called super tours, and then everyone moved it to a national tour. So I just got to chuckle out of that. But I'm kind of two minds of the tour combining. On one hand, I think, yes, it's going to make scheduling 100% better. It'll be a lot easier to work. Odds are the Pro Tour would take over the national tour. I don't see the PDGA picking up 10 events. I could see the Disc Golf Pro Tour taking over the 6 events. But on the other hand, I feel like over the last 3 to 4 years, having the 2 tours has really pushed the level of each tour. And I think the competition between the two has lifted the bar on event levels in general, and especially with media that I see. But I definitely think that in the future should probably just be one tour. Yeah. And I don't know if that should be in 1 year or 3 years or 5 years, but I do think right now that the two are pushing each other, because I honestly feel that before the national tour, or before the Pro Tour showed up, the national tour was kind of stale. Like, it had about 10 years where it didn't really make a lot of forward momentum. And then the Pro Tour shows up, and the Pro Tour puts all this money into media and UDisc and FPO coverage and all this other stuff. And now suddenly the PDGA kind of gets a fire lit under them and says, oh, we can't be shown up. We can't have what we feel are the best events, because the PDGA should feel that the National Tour ones are the best. We can't have them being shown up by the Pro Tour. So now you saw the investment in your Central Coast and Jomez and Smashbox and GK Productions to push that. So I'm not sure when I would want to see the two tours combined, because I think that there's still room for growth. I think there's still room to push everybody, and I would hate to see one company, we'll say, get the entire dozen eggs and then sit on them. I want to see things push, but I do understand and then completely agree that at some point it only makes sense to have one tour, one schedule, and let the A tiers and B tiers and fun non-sanctioned events just fill in. So
there's a lot that can be done for it, and I really just hope the PDGA kind of is open-minded to that thought, because there's been a lot of rumbling amongst the professional disc golf players, and that we feel that the PDGA feels a lot more like an ADGA, the Amateur Disc Golf Association, because they are kind of more in line and thinking more about what the AMs want more than they are the pros, because we are a very small percentage. So, it would, I think with having a tour that is run in the mind for the professionals and things like that, and hopefully with the input of a lot of professionals, that it is the opportunity to do something really, really great. And this is not to say that the PDGA isn't doing anything for us. They're doing countless things for us. So I'm not trying to call them out and be like, yeah, PDGA sucks. No, PDGA is great. They are doing a lot of really good things. But I think, it's like you might have a lot of people wearing different hats, but there might be certain hats that should be worn by specific people. And I think that, right now that the professional tours maybe doesn't need to be a hat the PDGA wears. Maybe we follow their standards and we do those things and we put the right people in place to take it to that next level that we're hoping it does. And, I am genuinely positive about the conversations I've had with people who are in the PDGA on boards and stuff like that, things will continue to move in a positive direction. And I think us players having more of a voice and doing things that hopefully help benefit us and get them to understand that these are things that we want is probably the best way for the PDGA to kind of make those strides. If we stay silent and just talk about it over a beer or hang out, whatever, we just complain about it after a round, basket standards, blah, 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 this sucks, whatever. If we keep doing that, that really doesn't do anything for us. But if we have these conversations with people in the PDGA and we get on these committees and we talk to them and we just advocate for ourselves, that's really the only way we're going to make these changes.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think we're at a point where we need it, but I chuckle every time someone brings up like a players union, and I just think I hope somebody does it, please, just so it stops getting talked about. Like I just want someone to step up and do it, and then watch it. I personally think it's going to end up failing, and just be done with it already. Stop talking about it. But I think there is definitely input that needs to happen from the pros. I think you need to have that input for the national tour. You need to have that input for everything from rules to scheduling to things. I think that is a very important thing to do. So we'll see how kind of it all shakes out. So totally. USDGC is coming up. How have you finished there in the past?
I have cashed at the times that I have played. So I think I played 2 times. Yeah, I tried to qualify multiple times, 2 times, and got in on a Monday qualifier, and then qualified at Masters Cup last year, and have done well enough to cash. Which cashing at USCGC is not an easy feat because the course is very difficult. It does play pretty well for a left to right finishing player, where I feel like I have a pretty strong forehand, and that kind of that's you see Nate Sexton, you see Jeremy Colin, you've seen a lot of lefties be on lead cards and stuff like that, because most of the shots that are moving from left to right are finishing away from the OB in most cases. So it does favor in that regard. So I'm looking immensely forward to that event. I always have. It was actually probably the first disc golf tournament coverage I ever watched in like 2004, 2005 coverage of USDGC that my buddy downloaded onto his computer. We got done playing the local course with our shirts off and getting a bunch of poison ivy, and then we just show up and he's like, dude, check this out, these guys are so sick. And they were.
They were, yeah.
It's been my goal ever since to go play this course. So
was that one of the Clash DVDs way back then from Billy Crumb?
I honestly couldn't tell you, man. I just remember seeing Steve Brinster do his hop, and I'm like, dude, that dude's sick. So,
and now you're known for the hop. You're known for
I tell Steve every time, like he's the reason why I got it, and then Stevie B's, will forever be one of my favorite disc golfers.
I read online a little bit on disc golf course review. Someone was saying some changes to the USDGC course. 1 and 2 are gone, so so we won't. Apparently, they won't be playing those. Hole 3 is going to be the new hole 1, and then you go to we'll just use the old numbers. You go to 4, and then apparently back. I think where the warm up area is by the golf course is they're going to put a hole or 2 in there, and then you go back and play the normal 5 through
18.
5 through 18, but I think someone had said that they're not going to be playing off the dock for 5 this year. That they're going to go back to one of the older tee pads on the right, and I think some of this stuff is still up in the air, but someone had also said possibly splitting up hole 11, which I think is a mistake, because I think 11's as I had to reach out to Dixon, and we were talking about it, and I'm like, wait a minute, which one's 11? And he's like, the hedge hole. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a great hole.
Yeah, it's a great par 4. It's really tough. You make a decision. Are you going to go big off the tee, or are you going to lay up and then go big? Like, there's so much there.
Yeah, possibly maybe splitting that one up, or that 12 or 10 or 11, 12, something like that. So we're going to definitely see some changes to the course this year, as we do every year, but these might be a little more dramatic than we're used to.
I feel like you have a bunch of people who have run a really good event, and for what we're talking about, things need to move forward. They need to be changed. And I think the USDGC has constantly been doing that. Maybe they've done it in kind of some, they've set the standard in some weird ways that have had some ramifications that we're not too stoked on, stroke and distance being a key factor that's been abused many a time. But I think that what they've done really well is that they've made a prolific event that kind of makes us all really excited about disc golf, and you crown a really good champion. The couple holes that I would I hope they don't change. I think hole 18 is when UC had it as a disc golf world tour event, and they moved it short, so everybody got to see the champion get crowned. I think his intentions were right, but hole 18 as a par 4 might be one of the, arguably, in my opinion, is one of the best holes in all of disc golf. It is a daunting tee shot followed by a really difficult second shot with OB everywhere. You throw it good and you're OB long, and if you don't commit, you come up short OB, and it's like you have to throw the best shot to get your birdie. And I'm all for that, and that's why forever. Whenever I get a 3 on that hole, even if it's in practice, I'm jazzed. I'm so stoked. I'm like, this is one of the best feelings in the world. And, I hope that they still continue to have that feeling out at USDGC, is that they're making iconic holes in the right way and not making things gimmicky like we've seen. Like maybe the hole that's behind the baseball field that we did some island hopping last year wasn't amazing, but it really did have that risk reward. I laid up and got my 4s all 4 rounds last year, and I was totally fine with that. I went putter, and I went overstable, and then I pitched it up, and I got a 4, and I walked over to the tennis court hole, and I was like, sweet, I'm gonna go lay up again over here too. So it just you can play the course however suits you, and I think that that's been one thing that they've done really well, and I'm excited to see the changes if it's if it goes in that type of direction. So
I'm really excited to see I'm always excited to see some of the new holes, because just like you, I've been watching this event for 20 years. I remember I remember the older course, where 17 wasn't that particular style island, where it kind of moved up, and it's, before you had like the triple Mando
and everything before all that. Like there's so much that's gone on.
It's awesome. So taking a couple questions here off the board. The first one is, what do you plan on doing come off season? So we finish up with the Pro Tour finale, the end of or just before the end of October. From October to February, what are your plans?
Paige's wedding, Paige Bierkes' wedding, and Grady's shoe. Can't wait to be there for them. I think it's going to be amazing to be at the shoe wedding, and that's going to be really, really cool to just kind of support two of our friends who, Paige was at our wedding. It was she was super excited, and she's like, well, maybe I'll get married, and then it was like, look at what's happening. She is. So that'll be really cool to support our teammates and stuff like that and family. So from there, Tina and I are actually going to go down to Pensacola, Florida, Madison Walker's hometown. And we're looking at definitely getting a house to either rent, or there's an outside chance that we actually buy property down there, because it is a kind of a hot spot for Airbnb through the summer months when we're not even going to be there anyways. So if we get a nice enough spot, then we can rent it out and on it, at least break even, which will be really, really nice for us. So the what's that?
I was gonna say, well, if you do decide to buy in Pensacola area, reach out to me. I happen to work for a company that does title work and can probably find maybe not a discount on the house, but on some of that extra paperwork stuff. I could probably hook you up a little bit, because we own a company in Pensacola. So reach out.
Yeah, we definitely will. So yeah, we're really looking forward to that. So what that does for us is gives us a home base, definitely at least for the off season. So say we rent, that's still in the forefront of our minds, is have a place that we can kind of get out of the RV, stretch our legs, be able to relax, do a little bit more, and have a normal life. Give Spout a place to kind of sprint around a little bit rather than being in the RV the whole time. So that'll be cool. We'll go to Emporia for sure to have a good conversation with Dee Dee and get things set up for hopefully 2020 and beyond. That's always something that we'd like to do in the off season. And then we'll spend our time probably, I think we talked about it, is like November 1st to February 1st makes like the most sense of time that we spend in Florida in a place. We're doing the cruise, the disc golf cruise that Tyler Searle is putting on and Dee Dee's helping out with that. That's in January. So outside of those main things, between November and February, it's going to be tons of disc golf practice, mainly working out and eating healthy and taking care of the body, getting myself ready for 2020. Working immensely with this Seth Muncie Disc Golf Strong, and then in February 1st, maybe before then, end of January, depends on what we work out, we'll start making the trek out to California to kind of get ourselves on that side of the country. Probably go to Monterey and work with Seth in his gym and kind of be with him so we can do some hands-on work, because that's what we did leading up to the beginning of this past season. And I thoroughly enjoyed it, because he gave us programs to work on our own time. But then going and working with him one-on-one was awesome, because there's a difference when you're working with a coach. It's just you have that extra motivation. He's telling you exactly, so you get exactly what you want out of it. We'll probably run some events on our way out to California, so trying to give back to the fans and do what we can to make those cool things happen and whatnot. I know I've talked with Steven Story of Dynamic Disc Carrollton, a couple of friends, Brandon and Kyle New, who are also in Texas, and we'll probably look to kind of do a collaborative event there, try and set something up if it doesn't conflict with the thousands of tournaments that are run in Texas every weekend. So, but yeah, that's kind of our off season in a nutshell. And then wherever the schedule has us starting next year, I know there's a lot of things that have put it up in the air. We'll be at least on that side of the country ready to go. And I think that we're in a place where Tina and I have worked very hard to kind of get ourselves into a place that we can make a decision like that, to potentially have a house and have a home base and kind of do that stuff. But we would still be traveling full time, so it's going to be great.
It really feels like, start looking at next year, every year, or every couple years, we'll say, there's a new event vying to be that first event. Like for a long time, the Memorial was the beginning of the year, but you had Vegas kind of teasing everybody. Like half the pros showed up and half didn't, and then Vegas became an NT. And now everybody's got to be at Vegas. So now you've got the winter time kind of teasing people like, come play me. You need a warm up, don't you? And I've heard rumors, and I don't know if it's going to happen next year, the year after, but they're vying for a bigger
John Tompkins
tier
of
status.
Supreme Flight is amazing. And what everybody said, it was one of the best wintertime opens they've ever been to. And I know he's always working to kind of make amazing things happen. He's a great person for the sport of disc golf. So hopefully he can. I know that would be. I know that I'll be real. That the memorial hasn't changed, and the area of Scottsdale and Fountain Hills they both have grown in popularity just in the sheer amount of people that are in those towns, those cities, that it makes for that event to be it's very difficult for us to be out there. There's just too many bystanders that aren't there for the event, and they just happen to be in the parks, and it makes it feel like less of an event. It's very dangerous.
Yeah.
Not only for us as players, but for people, for kids, for elderly, you name it. It is dangerous across the board. It was crazy coming from Vegas, where we had a perfect space to warm up in the driving range, even though that was kind of dangerous because people were just ripping discs at each other, and it was a little bit of a chaos zone. But you had a place to warm up. The courses were private, and you didn't have to worry about bikes riding by or trucks or anything like that. You were on this perfect spot to where you were able to focus in on disc golf. And then we go to the memorial where there's not really a place to warm up, and that you're throwing kind of at people always, and that's never a fun feeling. So I know that they're spinners on the green, and those guys are going to just continue to work hard to make that event better. And I know, having talked with Jeff Spring, he has ideas to help that event. If it can move to being a safer event, then they're going to go for it. So hopefully, I love Fountain Hills was probably the Memorial was one of the biggest events of my first big event that I ever played, and I enjoyed it, and I will always enjoy it. But I think we as disc golf have outgrown it.
I think I'm with you. I believe that the Memorial needs to change sooner than later in order to continue its status.
Totally.
I think I don't think we need Fountain Hills anymore, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like
it's too easy. You can shoot 10 or 11 down and move down. You can shoot that well and move down. That's insane.
There are truly 6 really good holes out there, and the rest kind of feel like another hyzer. And I understand everyone always says, well, it's the wind and it's the water and it's the danger, and I get all of that. But a player who's on shreds that course, without a doubt. And I know that sounds stupid because you could say that about any course, but that one particularly, all you need is a hyzer that's on. You don't need a forehand. You don't need a flex shot. You don't need anything else. I would personally, to keep the Memorial in the loop, I would love to see them eliminate Fountain Hills and either go to just Vista and close the park, if possible. And I don't know the realism of this. I've never talked to anyone about it, but in my mind, you have to close down Vista from recreational players, because I think Vista's a phenomenal course. I think you have so many good shots out there. Or
on a not busy day or weekend, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's awesome. They're fun shots, but you put it on Saturday or Sunday where there's, it's warm out. It's not it's perfect weather. People are going to be at the park. You're going to see parties. You're going to see people racing their little boats on the water. You're going to see
your wife scooting.
My wife getting her scoot group on the electrical scooters. Like she's like you
I love those things.
Those are so much fun. I mean, Tina bought one. So
I know.
We have one always. So it's you know that it's just going to be a tough situation and a tough sell. So I would hope that the Phoenix community could maybe even find a different venue. If it's a golf course.
Yep,
I know that we tried that other golf course, Fiesta Lakes. It has a new name now. That just wasn't enough property for a professional level course. But expanding out to different things like that, and now we're working into a much better situation. And then maybe we play, instead of Fountain, we're playing a golf course in Vista and maybe we do Vista the first 2 days before the weekend, followed up by a golf course the next 2 days on a more secluded piece of property to keep that in mind. But then you also have the fact that there's a bunch of AMs playing the event as well. There's a lot going on. There's a lot more moving parts, and that's the stuff that I kind of throws a wrench. And I've said this for a while. I think there needs to be more AM and Pro weekends to a lot of events.
Correct.
I know it's tough.
Yeah, exactly. You know all the difficulties with AM and Pro weekends as far as volunteers and courses and things like that. And I don't mind the combined events, assuming you have enough volunteers and courses and everything that it like GBO is a great example.
The Emporia or Peoria, and you can do them both because you have the staff plus the courses to do it.
But I mean, I think Fiesta could be, or not Fiesta. Fountain Hills is a great course for AMs.
Yeah,
like I don't want to disparage the course. It's a fun course for pros at times too. But we've laid out the issues that it has had. But for your 1,000 rated and sub player, that's a good course. That's a solid. There's a lot of good pulls out there. You know, you need to work on those things that the pros probably already have down. You know,
it shapes good AMs. Like
it does. And
if an AM goes out there and plays really well, like we saw at the Next Generation Tour being out there, I think it was a good testament of, you know, if you can handle this course, handle the pressure, handle the fact that you're probably going to throw a disc in the water and not ever see it again. If you can handle all those factors, that, you know, you have what it takes to kind of cut it as a decent enough pro to get after it and whatnot. So that was a good call on their part. I think there's a lot of events that we're past it, you know, and that we have to kind of face those facts that. And it's so strange. We're talking about the old guard. Like you've heard probably all the grumblings of the old guard at De La Viega, how this year it wasn't real De La, blah blah blah. It doesn't matter. It's a safety thing. You can't put people in danger. It's not a matter of, well, if it happens. It's a matter of when, and that's terrifying. That somebody gets seriously hurt, and that's all that we're talking about at the tournament. We're not talking about so-and-so won, so-and-so did well. We're talking about this terrible thing that happens, and we should avoid that as much as possible. So I think it was a good call on their part, and I think, you know, Fountain Hills and Vista del Camino are kind of moving in that direction where there's just a lot of danger. And that, you know, I'm trying to think about any other events where we have similar issues, and I can't come up with many more because all the bigger events have now been, they're kind of more in the line of on private places. You know, we're talking like there's no at Milo MacGyver, the weekend of the Beaver State Fling, you're not having people who are casually going and having a barbecue in the middle of the fairway or picnicking because they've done everything they can to be able to shut down the park. Now they have the privilege of the parks department working with them, and maybe the Memorial doesn't have that because of how big Vista del Camino is and Fountain Hills are, that they just can't shut it down. And if it is, it's impossible to pay for. So, that's and again, if that's the case, then cool. The Memorial is now a really cool A-tier tournament that, you know, you might get 70 to 80 pro players, and it's a really fun event, and people can play it if they want, similar to Wintertime Open. Becomes more of that style of event. It's a warm up rather than the actual start of the season. And that's just could be the harsh reality of it.
All right, so we're gonna go. I think we've exhausted some of the serious questions. Let's move a little bit more into the lighter portion of the kind of over under 2,000 whale sacks will be created in the off season.
Oh, over for sure.
Way over.
Over, because
nice.
That's Tina's prime time to do custom orders, which I shouldn't be talking about this because she's probably going to get more custom orders now. But that's the perfect time for her to kind of, like, people want to do custom printed fabric and those types of things, so she can handle it. Yes, Smashbox custom fabric.
We'll be working on it. Trust me.
Heck yes.
We've got somebody designing a storefront for us right now. Should hopefully be up and running in a couple weeks, and we're going to need to fill it, and I'm definitely going to want to fill it with some whale sacks.
Love that idea. That's going to be great. Tina got really excited when you said that. So yeah, I think it'll be over. Especially we did 1,000 whale sacks to Power Grip in Europe just this summer. Tina sent 200. Oh, 200 the first order. They sold out of within weeks. 400 sent over right before we went to Europe, sold out while we were there.
Wow.
And then when she got back, she sent 400 more. And I'm pretty sure they're probably relatively close to out of them by now. But, and if not already been out of them. But the growth has been incredibly huge. Tina's been working extra hard. She's actually had her mom her family has been helping out with the process, and as things have gone on. So it's been really cool. I think we'll definitely get over that number.
All right. That's first of all, that's awesome. I'm really excited to see the side business grow as well as, the main attraction, so to speak. So I'm excited. Wisconsin girl does good. It's always a great story.
Yeah, she does. She represents pretty well.
Yes, she does. Definitely. Okay. So you guys are, I would say, relatively well known for going to see movies. What's the last movie you went to go see?
What was the last movie we went to go see? Did we go rewatch Spider-Man? Was that it?
I think Toy Story 4 was there.
Toy Story 4. We watched it with Zach Mountain, and was that Worlds? We had the whole theater to ourselves, and it was a tearjerker. Toy Story 4 was super good.
It is. Melton cried a lot, didn't he?
We all did. It was good. But I think, what was it? Paige asked us the question, how much do we think we spend on movies a year? What do you think? Under, we spend $2,000 on movies a year. Popcorn included, tickets, you name it.
Yeah, if you're talking everything, then you're definitely going over, because
yes.
We
talked about it. We're like, oh, there's no way. We don't spend that much. And then we kind of started putting all the reality together, and we're like, yeah, we probably spend well over that number.
And what sucks is, I mean, they used to have the movie pass option that you could sign up for, and that literally just finished going out of business a couple days ago, I saw. But we need to find one of those yearly passes where you pay $40 a month, and then you get a ticket every week or something, and try to get on one of those. But those are usually more regional theaters sets these days, so I don't know if it would work out for you guys. But yeah,
my family gets us a lot of Fandango gift cards.
Oh yeah, that's
so that at least covers tickets most of the time and stuff like that, and we'll run through those pretty quick. And I mean that we just it's the easiest thing for us to do in the off season to kind of or during the season to have some semblance of normalcy, because you go to the movies, it's the same. You're probably sitting there, you're probably freezing, you're eating buttery popcorn, wiping your hand off with all the oils, and drinking a soda. That's like our get out. That's honestly the only place we do drink soda is when we go to a movie, because it's like our treat. It's our night out. This is our treat yourself.
Yeah, you kind of have to. I mean, you go. Maybe even if you're not soda, some sugary drink, a fruit punch, a good lemonade, something like that.
Yes.
You got to say. Along those lines, what is the next movie you're really looking forward to seeing? Do you have one in mind? I can't wait till this comes out.
Star Wars.
Okay, good. That's the right answer. There's no other answer. That's the right answer.
Yes. I cannot wait. God, I haven't really been seeing any. I think we've been watching a lot of commercials for The Abominable, which is from the same creators of How to Train Your Dragon.
Oh, okay.
And it looks like it's a PG movie that's probably more for kids, but it's going to be a good animated movie, especially from DreamWorks. They really haven't come out with very many bad ones. So that'll be one that we'll see just as a recent, thinking about, have I seen any trailers for stuff? Joker also looks good. I think
I'm
people
torn,
have been up and down, but from what it seems like, I think it's a cool take on the Joker. And I'm interested.
Yeah, it could be. I think that I believe is going to be a very divided film. I think if you look at it just based on cinematography, I think it looks phenomenal. I think you're going to see a lot of think pieces on it as far as
this isn't the Joker we know, blah blah
no,
blah.
not even so much.
Oh, this is amazing. It's just
not
like,
even so much that. Like, I think just even from what I've heard, my understanding is, it's maybe not necessarily the right time to have someone who, some apparently some middle-aged white guy who is ignored by everybody, who decides to basically take the law into his own hands and feels like he is downtrodden, and like there's a lot of current politics that are being pushed into it. My understanding is, so I think the movie is probably going to be very well done and probably a very good movie. I think you're going to see a lot of those type of backlash think pieces on it. So we'll see.
Totally, but, I could see that. But I mean, we're so distant from the world of that, being in the disc golf world. We're just like, yeah, everything's great. This is awesome. Yeah, let's go to this cool place next. New Frozen. Tina just brought that one up. Frozen 2 is coming out soon. That'll definitely be good.
Yeah, yep. Well, that'll be one I go to with the family for sure. So, your disc is The Felon.
Mm-hmm.
How many are you bagging right now?
Was
that a laugh from Tina?
Yeah. So white, blue, yellow, red, orange. It's 5.
Five felons.
Yeah.
All different levels of beatness, I'm assuming. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe a backup for another
6.
one.
Honestly, it depends on if the course. Like at Winthrop, I'll probably have more like 7, just to have one extra overstable one, just in case I dunk one and I can't get it back. Like that's just a nightmare to think about. Of like, oh, I got to go to hole 17. I don't have the disc that I would throw once or twice on this one, and then I'll probably keep a straight felon for like holes like 888, a couple approaches, like and stuff like that, where again maybe on hole 5 throwing over the water, the second shot, if I'm close enough, I might be throwing a felon there, and it might be best to throw a straight line at it just to kind of get that kind of stuff. So again, having that straighter one as a backup in the bag as well is always super good. But yeah, the felons are, you gotta, it's one of those crazy things that once I figured out that I enjoyed the disc, the best part for me is that I throw them both for backhand and for sidearm. And I think that having a disc that you can do both, like similar to Greg Barsby and his Eagles.
Sure. Like
thinking about that way. He backhands them, he sidearms them, and that's why they're so good. The felon fills a very similar spot.
How many of those are Lucid felons? All of them?
All of them, but 2 of them are Lucid X.
Lucid X.
They're the more overstable, and then the other ones are Lucids.
And you guys are on a new internet connection these days, so I will. Yeah. It seems to be working pretty well. That's good. We've only had 1 or 2 little blips, but that's
we got this. We got this hotspot. It's from a company, OTR Mobile. We'll plug them. I don't know if they'll ever see this, so it doesn't matter. But that'd be sweet. So OTR Mobile is a really cool thing. It was $330 for that device and $60 a month for truly unlimited data. Not a like 20 gigs and then we'll throttle the crap out of everything you're doing. It's legitimately unlimited. Tina was watching Parks and Recreation. I was sitting down playing a video game, and both of our phones were connected to the device, and we were running internet like it was normal.
Awesome.
It's been really cool.
Awesome. That's hopefully if you're out there, OTR, I believe it is, then
OTR Mobile.
Yeah. And some sponsorship would be nice for the Oakleys.
Right? Holler.
That's right. Some free data. If you get free data, you come to SmashBoxx, we can use some of that stuff.
Yeah, I think I talked to Terry about it at Nantucket that we just had got it, and we've had it for a week or so now, since Nantucket. So and it's surprised us. It's been quite good. And occasionally we've seen like dips in internet, but if it's on the AT&T plan, so if we have good AT&T service, it runs great. But if we have bad AT&T service, then it's there's nothing you can do.
Exactly, there's nothing you just. All right, so we'll finish this up with letting you take a minute to let everybody know how they can support you and Tina and sponsorship, discs. What can the people out on the internets do to help the Oakleys get their RV to the next spot?
Well, first, make sure you go to whalesax.com. That's probably one of the best places to support Tina and all that she does. She's got a ton of different stuff on there, from swag to hats to the product itself, the whale sack. And then we have Whale Pants DG, which is a new thing that we're helping push, which is going to be a place where you're going to be able to find event information, which we have an event coming up this Sunday before USDGC with another round disc golf, and that's going to be a luck of the draw with Paige Pierce, followed by a team DD meetup / clinic at another round disc golf, the store itself. So it's going to be kind of a really cool dual event to have something really, really awesome happening. And then Whale Pants DG is great as far as we have Tina's Hybrid Trespasses on there, some of my Moonshine Lucid X Felons, which are only available through us as of right now, and those were special discs that we did for Europe. So these are some of the ones that we brought back with us to kind of spread to the masses and whatnot, and give some people to get their hands on some amazing product. And then, for us, most importantly, make sure you guys are checking out Dynamic Discs and supporting all the content they're doing. Make sure you guys go subscribe to their YouTube channel. Bobby put out an amazing video talking about the road to 50K, and there's going to be some really cool stuff going on there. So you guys should definitely be checking them out.
If you were watching Disc Golf Answer Man, you saw it like 3 or 4 times today.
They definitely were plugging it.
Well, they had a little issue with starting out the stream, and it kept repeating, and it was funny. And then I saw, I'll say this, maybe I don't think they talked about it, but there was a blip in there, and maybe we're spoiling something, but about Jones Gold. Are we seeing Jones Gold, do you know, for next year's GBO?
It was a discussion that has been brought up that it's we as players were asked what we would want to see. And for me, I loved Country Club, and I think a good combination of not playing 4 rounds at Country Club. If you're going to 3 rounds at Country Club would be the best. If you're going to play 4 rounds of a tournament, it's best to have 2 courses. If you can make that happen. So Jones Gold is definitely in the works. It's just one of those difficult things that you take 2 courses away from the rest of the tournament instead of just the one.
Well, EMAC on the board says Jones Gold at GBO. We had all the exclamation marks, so I had to add the emphasis. So good, it's happening.
Yeah, you got to scream that one. But yeah, that'll be cool. That's so make sure you guys support all our sponsors too. Disc Golf Strong, the Natty, and so much. There's just so countless many people that are just out there looking out for us. You guys are some as well. I know you guys are fans of Whale Sacks, fans of what we're doing, and the street goes both ways, because we're always looking to make sure you guys get the credit you deserve.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you very much for jumping on the stream here at the last minute. It's always great to catch up with some of our pros, and I know we usually
great, man.
Yeah. I mean, phenomenal. We usually tend to skew towards the people who are really performing at the top of the divisions. And I'm no offense to you, but you are, I think, a perfect example of right now of what a pro sometimes goes through, where they don't necessarily they're not on their game all the time. You had a great showing at Worlds, and then kind of hit a little rut in what you're going to do to get out of it. So it was really nice to hear that. And we're obviously everyone here is pulling for you. So go get yourself go watch a movie, go watch some Disney films, take a nice little break, go find a mountain and a waterfall somewhere.
Will do, man.
All right. Thanks a lot, Eric. Thanks for joining the show. Have a nice night.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, shout out to Eric Oakley for, like I said, literally last minute jumping on the stream. I didn't have a guest lined up, and it was just awesome to have Eric so wonderfully step in for anything. So there's not a lot more we need to talk about here tonight. We can go over a couple of things. We got the USWDGC coming up. That is coming up this weekend, and that is in Spotsylvania, Virginia. So I'm excited for that. We saw this week, particularly, a whole bunch of new discs were approved. We have 3 Latitude 64 discs, the SPZ 1, 2, and 3. Not sure what those are, but we see on the PDGA thing, it's called the putter is the Zombie, the mid-range is the Pirate, and the driver is a superhero. I wonder if they didn't have ninja, because isn't it like ninja, pirate, zombie? Aren't those kind of the three? But they went with superhero for the driver. Those look like they're more beginner-friendly discs, maybe a package deal, so to speak. Freetail from Mint Discs is a new disc, and Infinite has the Aztec, as well as a little guy known as Paul Macbeth, little in stature, not in play. The guy's awesome. He's not even that little, but everyone's little to me. The Malta was approved, and the Malta, my understanding, is a stable mid-range disc. The PDGA doesn't care about flight numbers, just like I don't. But my understanding is it's maybe kind of between a Wasp and a drone, is what I heard. Somewhere right around there with a specific lip. So I'm looking forward to getting my hand on a couple of those, and the Malta specifically, I'll probably order a few of them as I have a whole bunch. The JV update on Ulibarri. I don't. He's crying right now, I think. I think every Steelers fan is crying from Sunday to Sunday. That's the only update I have on Paul Ulibarri. We'll probably catch up with him in another week or two, maybe right before USDGC, get an update on his recovery, how he's doing, maybe his picks for USDGC, other than probably Paul Macbeth, because I can't imagine anyone picking anything other than Paul Macbeth right now. Because as we saw this past weekend at GMC, what he does is just amazing. GMC was Paul Macbeth at 36 under par, Chris Clemens, followed up by Nico, who we have not seen in forever. It was phenomenal being able to catch 2 rounds with Nico. I was really excited to see him, and we got Nico. Just put it that way. We got the frustrated Nico. We got the happy, excited Nico. We got the talking to himself Nico. We got the full gamut this weekend. It was really fun to see Nico play because he has some phenomenal skills. He is one of my favorite players to watch flex a disc, because most of our big crushers tend to throw with a hyzer that will stand up and turn. Nico throws if he wants a distance, he throws a big anhyzer and lets it flex out, and he might not get as much. He throws a far away, so I'm not putting him down or anything, but he might not get as far as some of our elite level players these days, but it's fun to watch him work a disc. He picks a lot of different shots, and it's always a pleasure to have him on the live stream, which we haven't had in quite a while. What else do we have here? I'm sorry, I forgot to ask. I was going to ask Eric about the retired discs, if there's anything in his bag that he was going to hold on to. Maybe next time we'll get that. I love we're going to go through the board here a little bit. I too love the change at GBO. As much as I think the Country Club is coming along, and I think it's a phenomenal course, I understand there's a lot of people that get bored with one course and want to see more of a variety. So to appease that, I understand the move to Jones Gold, and we've never seen it. I don't know if it's ever been filmed, the true Jones Gold that Eric McCabe designed. So I am really excited to kind of get a view of that. Eric is a well-renowned course designer now, and this is maybe one of his early designs being in Emporia. I don't know, but I'm sure he'll fill us in, and we'll hear a lot more about that coming up. Seth, Ronald Harkey asks, will I and Terry be in Charlotte for the finale? No, I won't be. As like Seth Fenley here says, JVD is not allowed to leave the basement except for GBO. That is historically correct. They keep me locked up down here. And if Terry was here, he'd probably be complaining that it was too warm or something, but whatever. Other media news, talk a little bit about this. During GMC on the chat board, the Green Mountain Championships, Fulcrum Media came on and was chatting. Fulcrum, as you know, put on the live stream, or maybe you didn't know, put on the live stream for USDGC last year. Interesting, that's one of the few live streams that Smashbox hasn't been involved in disc golf. There was, at least recently, obviously we had Disc Golf Planet for a while, but then there was the American Disc Golf thing, whatever you want to call it, that happened that we did not have any involvement in. And then there was also the Waco event this past year, which we had zero involvement in because I was on vacation. So other than that, for like the past 5 years, every live event has been with us or me. So But they came on and basically said that they are doing live for USDGC, and they're looking to, as they call it, push the envelope. They said something about 8 cameras, so I'm looking forward to watching that. I'm looking forward to being just a viewer, just like everybody else. Maybe we'll do a viewing party if I can find some time for that, as we've done in the past. But having 8 cameras, and I don't know what 8 cameras means. I mean, if you think about it, last year they had, I think, 2 or 3 on the lead card. They had 3 on hole 17. They had 1 in the booth, and then maybe 1 roaming. I don't know if they counted the drone as a camera, because we saw that for a minute or 2 on the broadcast, or if it's going to be 8 cameras showing action, like disc golf action. So we're gonna see. And we went back and forth on the chat board about what their plans are and some of the solutions that they might be looking at employing. And they don't necessarily have all the answers quite yet, but that was good. Along with that, we saw this weekend, or today or yesterday, something came out that I think Terry and I already knew, was that Jomez Pro this year will not be doing the shot-by-shot coverage at USDGC. Someone posted a screenshot of what looked to be a Facebook message with Jomez Pros, and they said, I believe the exact phrasing was, "We weren't invited this year. We weren't invited to it," something along those lines. And so, which means, I guess the cat's out of the bag, we can say. Spin TV is going to be doing the post-production stuff. And to be honest, the live will probably be on Spin TV's website as well. But the post-production will be done by Spin TV. So Jomez will still be on site, is my understanding, and they might maybe be doing something else that's not shot by shot. I don't know. Maybe they'll put something together, some of those awesome profile pieces we saw at Worlds. That would be kind of a cool thing to do. Or maybe some hype videos or what. I don't know. But it sounds like, as of right now, shot-by-shot coverage will not be done by Jomez. It will be done by Spin. And as Reddit is apt to do, they overreacted and got all up in a huff, some of them, and, claimed off that they're not going to watch USCGC and this stuff like that. And I just kind of chuckle at them and try to inform them that Spin TV has been around longer than Jomez, been around longer than SmashBox. I think it's been around longer than CCDG. It's been around a while. Not 100% sure on that, on CCDG, but they put out good stuff. I mean, arguably, if you look at their history, they've got some of the best videos in disc golf. Look at and some of that had Jomez doing filming behind the scenes, but not necessarily on their channel, on the Jomez channel, or their graphics package. So that's what we're seeing this year at USDGC. I'm excited to sit back and kind of take a look. If Fulcrum does something phenomenal, I'll steal it. Not even going to be shy about it. That's how things work. Someone does something great, and then someone looks at this, "Oh, I never thought about that. Let's do that." If they don't do something phenomenal and they just put out a fine show, great. I'm excited to watch as a spectator. Seth Fenley asks, does that count the GoPro? I don't know. They said Innova wants to push the envelope, and they said 8 cameras. I don't have any more details. I'm not in any way involved in the production. Like I said, I am happy to just sit and watch and kick my feet up and get a view from the cheap seats without all the added pressure of worrying about what's live and who needs to be talking and what commercials need to be played because of sponsors and this and that. It's going to be great. Some of the other questions on the board. Oh, Eric McCabe says in 2012 they used Jones Gold. I don't remember that, so I'm excited to relive that. If maybe there's video out there of 2012 GBO. If there is, go and check it out. Go check out Jones Gold. Do I know who's doing commentary for USDGC? I don't know if you mean live commentary or post-production. Either one, I don't really know. I'm going to go on a limb and say probably Jamie Thomas for live, but I don't know. And for post-production, and I don't know who his co-commentator is going to be. I don't know if it's Avery. I don't know. I don't think it's Avery from what I've heard. I'm not sure, though. Maybe the champ. Kenny got such a really good reaction last year from a bunch of people. I could see him stepping in there. I could see them covering costs and bringing him in to do commentary. It would just kind of make sense. I know it's something that Kenny would probably be very good at, and it has been very good at. I hope that's what I hope. I hope to see it. I hope to see Kenny behind the mic, because we're clearly not getting him in front of the cameras these days, playing for whatever injuries and stuff that he just is having unfortunate problems getting over. Getting him back in our community is, I think it's going to be a good big thing. As far as post-production, my guess is Big Sexy. I mean, they've done Spin TV before. They did it over, I think, in Europe when Spin TV was covering the European Open. I don't see why they wouldn't do it for USCGC. They're both Innova-sponsored players. Spin is basically an Innova product, which is my guess why they're doing it, is that this way Innova has full control over all aspects of the broadcast, whether it's live, post, commercials, graphics. They control it all, and I can't blame them. So my guess would be Big Sexy in post-production if I had to take a wild guess. Spin TV's first video came out May 13th, 2013. That seems late, but maybe I'm going to trust Joshua on the board. There is, Jason Porter, there is live coverage. It'll be done by Fulcrum, probably on Spin's YouTube channel, as well as where the post-production is. Is there a slider to get rid of Terry's chair? Not really. I have a hard time not kind of just resting my arm. I do this in general when I drive. No matter where I sit, if I'm next to my wife, my arm's usually around her, and it's not because I'm all lovey-dovey, even though it can be like that, but just I like having my arm rested on things. So we could hide it. Maybe no, we can't. Just push it and tip it over so nobody sees it. It lets everyone know that we're missing Tear Bear. Jomez has technically been around longer than Spin TV, says Joshua. Okay, cool. I don't know. Is there anything else? I will say about USCGC and major coverage. I don't know what the plans are for live or post, as I said, other than what I've shared. What I will say, and what I think should be a standard at every major, and probably NT as well, even though we've been pretty lucky with NTs, you need 2-card coverage, period. No ifs, no ands, no buts. You can't provide 2-card coverage for at least the top MPO cards. Something has to happen, period. Because what if the winner comes off the second card? And I know you could say that about the third card and the fourth card. Traditionally, that hasn't happened. But with USDGC, things can get tight. It's a major. It needs to happen. So I don't care who out here is listening. If you're involved, whether from the PDGA side or from Innova side, make sure that happens. I have personal thoughts on how I think media should be covered. I think I've gone over those before. That I think it should be kind of a free for all. If you are a proven entity based on PDGA, whether they sanction whatever media crew, you should be allowed to show up. And whoever is running the event, the TD, the sponsor, they should be able to pick who covers their lead card. And if you're a media company, you should have to put in commercials from the primary sponsor. So let's say it's USCGC and CCDG wants to show up and say, hey, no, we're cool covering second card. Innova says, cool, we can't stop you, but you have to play our commercials. At least one during your coverage. That's only fair. And we're not, as I've said 100 times, we're not in a position to turn down free coverage. I don't think Innova should be forced to pay. I don't think the PDGA should be forced to pay. But if someone wanted to come and film, they should not be stopped. I'll just say that. And that hasn't been the case in the past. In the past, other events, certain events have been locked down, and we've only seen one card coverage, and that has to stop. We have enough media crews now throughout the country that I think this isn't unreasonable. There are people that will come and do round coverage for free. I guarantee you, if you gave Terry the opportunity, said, hey, you want to cover second card MPO at USCGC? We won't pay you, but you can come, and he could wrangle up a sponsor. He could play an Innova ad. He would be there in a heartbeat. Period. It's just the way it is. Like, and for someone to say, nah, we're good. We got the lead card covered. Not acceptable anymore these days. We need multiple card coverage at all of our majors, and preferably NTs and Pro Tour events. So that's my take. This is that's your media input. I know we do that a lot because we're a media company, and sometimes I get sick of hearing us rant about different media stuff as well. But that is just the way it has to be. Not the way it should be, the way it has to be. Or we are doing our sport a disservice. Let's see here. When was the last time someone won from behind the lead card at USCGC? I don't know, Yanni. I don't know if it's ever happened. But we saw it happen at an NT this year in Delaware. So it could happen. It's not uncalled for. Let's see here. Anything else on the board? Alexa says you have hate in your heart, let it out. I don't have any hate in my heart. I'm actually in a really good place right now. This past week was really tough. Like, GMC was awesome. Family stuff earlier in the week, some medical things that are still a little up in the air with the family, and it was scary for a little bit, but things are looking better. So this past weekend was awesome. Things have been great. We are SmashBox is. I'm really happy to be done with the quote unquote regular season. I was exhausted of doing live coverage, to be honest. I love to do it, but part of me just kind of wanted to be done. So I want to, like Eric said, I want to recharge for a few weeks and get excited about doing live coverage again. And doing the Pro Tour finale will do that because it's a different style. It's not the typical, it feels a little bit more typical shot by shot, but I think we'll be bouncing around a little bit. We'll have multiple cards covered. It's a little bit more of a free flowing event, I'll say. And so I'm excited again I'm excited to be done with the regular season and move into the tour finale. It's going to be a good time. Let's see here. Anything else? No John Carver, no Innova Media blackout. We actually, Terry's not here to stop me, so I'm going to say it. We actually put a quote in for the live coverage for USCGC this year. Clearly we're not doing it, but I'm excited. Honestly, I would have been excited to do USCGC if it worked out, but it's not. And for whatever reasons that is, I'm cool with it. I think it's great. I think Fulcrum's going to do a really good job. So I'm excited to watch. And we were asked to provide a quote a little later in the game than probably we would have liked. So it was a very short window and small chance for us. But the fact that it was open and that they were interested is good. It's good for us. And I was happy to put the quote out there, and I understand why we didn't necessarily, I think I understand probably maybe why we didn't, why it's not SmashBox and why it is Fulcrum, but again, it's good. And SmashBox is moving forward. I'm excited about it. So lots of cool things. Like I said, the website, if you're a Patreon supporter, patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV, we have our t-shirts. I'm sorry, our polo shirts this month. Surprise, surprise. Those will be going out. That order was put into Miles. I need to reach out to him and see if there's anything more I need to do. But he has all the sizes, all the addresses. He just has to get them printed up. So everyone's getting a nice polo shirt that you can wear golfing with the SmashBox on it. So I'm excited to see those start to pop up on social media feeds. When you get one, go ahead and take a picture of it. All right. I don't know if there's anything else we need to cover tonight. I know we need to do a Patreon giveaway, but I think we can kind of probably take care of that next week when Terry's back in town. And we might just call it a night tonight. I don't know if there's even anything for the after show. Without having Terry's big mouth here, I don't have a lot to continue to go on about. Yeah, Central Coast said media should pay to film. In some events, I think that's the case. I think they should. I think that that makes a lot of sense in some cases. I don't think anyone's offering to pay for an A tier. It's just not happening. An A tier would probably need to pay for coverage and to help elevate the status of their event and get people to show up and come. But for NTs and majors and national or pro tour events, there's demand for those. And I think the media companies should be paying for those. And I think there should be RFPs put out there, like the national or the not the national tour, the Disc Golf Pro Tour is doing. My understanding is that the PDGA is not putting out an RFP this year, so that they're doing something else. And I've got my own feelings about that. So, but I'm not here to burn any bridges. So ultimately, I'd like to thank Eric Oakley again for jumping on late tonight from Vermont. Obviously, it's an hour later there. Him and Tina are always such great guests to have on, and he's very knowledgeable. And what I like about him is he loves to talk. So sometimes we get a guest and they're not always as forthcoming as other guests. And Eric is not that way. He loves to talk, and I love to listen. So he gives us a lot of content. So for Eric Oakley and everybody on the chat board tonight and myself, thanks for watching GMC this past weekend. Congratulations to the winners. Thanks for sitting with me tonight on a Tuesday night. It's going to be an early one tonight, but ultimately, I hope everybody has a phenomenal weekend. Go check out whatever USWDGC coverage. I think Jomez is covering that, so go check out that coverage. Those women deserve, whatever coverage is provided to them. And we will catch you guys next week when you step inside the Smashbox.